Okay, so I got an email from somebody who watches BBC who had a question, and there's several things in this question that I want to talk about. So it's somebody who does hospice work, and she said something came up at my workplace over the past week, and I wanted to ask if you might help me with how best to provide a better perspective for others should they wish it. So she was saying each morning prior to getting underway, they have a stand-up meeting, kind of like we do. And one day this past week, and during the stand-up meeting, the hospice chaplains give a short inspirational message. And so one day the past week, the message was regarding the importance of hope in one's spiritual life. And the chaplain read from a book titled Mystical Hope by Cynthia Bourgault, or something like that. The passage he chose expressed, quote, "Many Buddhist and other spiritual masters specifically castigate Christianity on this point," the point being that one should cultivate hope, insisting that only when we move beyond hope is there any possibility of healing. So this chaplain is reading from a book saying that Buddhism castigates Christianity for thinking that hope is a good thing, and that we're saying we should that only when we move beyond hope is there any possibility of healing. Okay, now, before I can even deal with the topic, I think this is quite an insensitive thing for a chaplain to say at a workplace, you know? And I feel as Buddhists, when people give wrong information about Buddhism in a work setting or any kind of setting, we should not let it go by and smile at them. You know, we should raise our hand and say politely, you know, I am a Buddhist, and as this person later notes, I've never heard anybody say that in our tradition, you know. So this author that you're reading from is incorrect, and the group needs to know this so that they have correct information. So I don't think we should just let things slip by when people give incorrect information about the Dharma, and especially when they're saying that Buddhists castigate Christianity, which is not the case at all. And that kind of talk only feeds religious dissension. So we should not let that go by, you know. And I say this because often people are so timid, I find. They're so timid to, when somebody says something incorrect, to just politely say, excuse me, you know, I'm a Buddhist and I know this, you know. So I don't think we should be shy. It doesn't mean we yell and scream and, you know, create a scene, but we do. I mean, it's our responsibility to give people correct information. Okay, so that's one thing. That's what I reacted to first in here, you know. Okay, but then, okay, to move beyond that, she says, so there were a couple of things that caught my attention. First, it has not been my experience that anyone I've been connected with in the Buddhist world over the past 16 years has castigated either Christians or Christianity as a religion for speaking about or promoting hope. Somewhere along the line, the author must feel that that is what she has run into. So I completely agree, and that's why it needs to be corrected. And it may not have been even that this author had some experience, but that she heard it in some stand-up meeting from somebody else who had the wrong information. Okay. And then she says, secondly, I have heard teachings about hope and fear really being the same side of one coin. So the inference regarding moving beyond hope as being a step forward in one's spiritual life seems to be fairly close to the mark. I'm just not sure that the author has actually explored what other religions have to say on the matter. For sure that author hasn't explored that. Okay? Now, one thing that you do find sometimes is they'll say, for example, when you aspire for Buddhism, for enlightenment, for full awakening, you have to give up hope and fear, or that hope and fear are distractions in your meditation. What they're talking about then is hope means unrealistic expectations. I mentioned this yesterday. Hope means, oh, by next Tuesday, I'm going to be enlightened. Okay? Or this path is going to be a cinch, generate compassion for all living beings. No problem. I felt that since I was a little kid. Or, realizing emptiness, that's no problem. Or generating concentration. I'll just clear my mind of all thoughts. That's not too difficult. And so people having these unrealistic expectations that sometimes are very much they can be connected either with their lack of correct information about the Dharma, or their own lack of introspection, or with a certain kind of arrogance that, the path is a cinch and, I'm going to accomplish it right away without anybody needing to tell me how to do it. Yeah? So that kind of way of thinking, I'm exaggerating here, but that breeds unrealistic expectations, and that's what is meant when you hear things about giving up hope, because those are hopes that are like completely off the wall, okay? So that's, what to give up. When we're trying to practice, because those kind of expectations or hope create a false image to us of what the path is. And then when you do a little bit and you don't attain enlightenment by next Tuesday, then you get really discouraged and you think that the path doesn't work. Okay? So this is why we are advised to give up those kind of hopes or expectations. But in general, and I'll speak about this tomorrow, maybe the next day too, hope and optimism are generally something to be cultivated, but to be cultivated on a practical basis, not on a fantasized basis. So I'll talk about that tomorrow, so stay tuned.